Hello and welcome to part 2 of tips and tricks to Houdini Python scripting that I learned during this project. Now I'd like to cover different ways you can write scripts for Houdini and Python. The first way, as I demonstrated in the first video, is just through the Python shell, where you write directly into the Python shell and it will interpret the one line that you write and execute it at the same time. So for instance, obj level is equal to who.node obj. And then we can create a node as well. Obj, that's null obj level dot create node null. Right? That's one way of doing it. Another way is to use the Python source editor, where we can enter that code just like we did here. You'll want to import who when doing this, though, so that there's a reference for what module you're using. Here we can determine our obj level again is equal to who.node obj, and then we can create our object again, obj level dot create node null, and then we can hit apply on this and it will do our action. There's our second null node. The third way, which is my preferred way to do it, is to neither use the Houdini Python source editor or the shell. These are very useful tools for testing different script procedures, like if you don't know a specific procedure in order to call the functions in the correct way or do a certain thing. These are very useful for testing different things out, and that's what I mainly use these two things for, is testing my script. But for when I want to have a large script or iterate upon a script, I like to write in Wing. The third way of writing scripts and iterating upon scripts is to use an external scripting software, such as Visual Studio Code, Notepad++. I like to use Wing right here. And the way we do that is exactly how my auto-rigging script is called. Here we can see that there's a folder that's determined, and we import systems, and we check that system path, and we check if this folder is in that system path that Houdini calls its scripts from. And if it's not there, it adds this path to the entire system path. And then we call our script, our rig creator script, and we run it. So let's try that with creating a new Python folder. So first we need to determine where we want to save our script. So you're going to want to create a new script and save it. I like to create it in a Houdini 18 documents, and I created this folder called scripts, where I test scripts and iterate upon scripts. And we'll just call this test Python, like that. And in here we'll just create a def for an example. Def test print, and we will just simply print test. And we'll save that, and now we'll try and call this so that we can print test. Now we can either do it with a shelf button or we can do it with a Python source editor. So just like in my example for calling my script, we want to determine that a variable that holds our path, our folder path, so our script folder. We'll want to go back and see where we saved that. Here's our test Python. Want to grab that folder path and create a string out of it. Then we want to import our system and we want to check if that path is already there. And if it's not, then we want to add it to the search path. sys.path.append script folder. So what this has done is it should have added this folder path to the search area for Houdini to search for different scripts. Now we want to call our script that we just made, which we called it test Python, and we'll reload it just for good measures. And then we'll run our def that we made called test print. So we'll do test Python dot test print, like that. Now what this should do is it should print test. There it is. It printed test. So if you want to use an external software to start writing your code because it may have better organization and special tools that you can apply to them, to the software, or different shortcuts and whatnot, this is how you would import that script and run it. And then every time you sort of update this, so if we test print, right, print test another update. So we've updated this, we'll want to save it, and if we run this again, it will update and run the new thing that we've written. And this is what I did for most of my writing for my script. If you want to see more tips and tricks, then join me for the next video.